Welcome to session 3 of our Microsoft webinar series. So you want to be an AI superstar. I'm Ellen Kim from the Microsoft 365 marketing team, your host for today. We'll be diving into how Copilot in Word and Excel can help parents make school days more productive and organized. And while we're using school scenarios to demonstrate, these tips are actually useful for everyone, whether you are helping your child or you're helping yourself. So joining me today will be 2 experts from the Word team and the Excel team. Before we get to that, if you are following along and just wondering, like, do I even have Copilot? I'll answer that first. If you have a Microsoft 365 personal subscription or a family subscription where you're the main account holder, you have all the Copilot capabilities that we'll be sharing today. If you are joining and you are using Microsoft 365 for work or school, your access to Copilot depends on your school or company's license. So you'll want to check with your IT admin on that. So all that's out of the way now. So I'd like to first introduce Elena Wachtel from the Word team as our first guest today. Welcome, Elena.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Now that we have you here, we're ready to learn. We're ready to learn some exciting ways you can use Word to support your child's learning. So, Elena, we'll start with a very easy softball question. Where do we find Copilot in Word?
Yeah, that's actually not an uncommon question, so thanks so much for asking. And you really did say it perfectly. So if you have a Microsoft 365 personal or family account, you actually already have access to Copilot in Word. And as you may or may not know, you can use Word on a variety of different surfaces. So you can use it on your desktop computer, both for a Windows device or a Mac computer. You can also use it in the browser, on the web in a browser of your choice, and even on mobile, both for iOS and Android. For the purposes of today, though, I will show you some of my favorite features using Word for the web. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen and show you a few things and just jump right into how we can be using Copilot in Word. First off, I highly recommend that everyone saves the Word homepage, word.cloud.microsoft. If you go to this page and then sign in, you'll be able to jump right into a document. You'll start from scratch. You can use our templates. You can look at your most recent documents. And this is a really great starting place, whether or not you're using Copilot at all, just to be able to use Word in the browser more effectively. So we're going to open up a blank document, and I'll show you within Word how do we actually get to Copilot features specifically. So you notice right from the very beginning, above the blank page, we have an input box here. And this is where you can immediately start chatting with Copilot. This is probably the most discoverable and main way that people start using Copilot in Word, but there's actually a couple of other locations. You can click the Copilot button in the top right corner, and this will open up Copilot Chat, where you can also continue to work with Copilot. And when you start typing in content, there's a little sparkle pen that appears that you can click on. And if you click on that, that'll open up another menu for you to be able to start doing things with Copilot. So I would say there's 3 main places, and you'll only see that input box when you are in a completely blank document. So now that I've typed some words, you saw that it disappeared. So to make it reappear, you can click on the pen or you can click on the Copilot button here.
That's great. Thank you so much for taking us through all this. So this blank document is giving me a little bit of anxiety. I have 3 kids at home. I always get somebody coming home, throwing themselves dramatically on the couch and just being like, I need help. And they're just stuck. They just want to, they have an assignment. They don't know where to start. They're just stuck. They want you to like be there and help them. And you want to empower them to do the work, but you want to just help them get unstuck. So how can a Copilot in Word help us here?
Now that's a great question. And that's not unique to the kids, right? Like I'm sure we've all had writer's block and we're staring at the scariness of the blank page and we don't want to start on that business report or we don't want to start on that essay or whatever the heck that we've had to write over the course of our lives, right? So I actually really love using Copilot in Word to brainstorm and get past that writer's block and help me create something that I can really be proud of. So let's say you have a second grader and they tell you very last minute, hey, mom or dad, I have my science fair this Friday. And it's Tuesday, by the way. So, of course, it's super last minute. And now you have to come up with some sort of school project really, really late. So, what I'm going to show you is how Copilot in Word can help you get started. We're going to open up that Copilot box again, and we're going to type in brainstorm school science projects. And you can tell that I practiced this to make sure that this prompt is like really good. It totally works. So we're going to click that button to generate, and it's going to start creating a draft. So we're just going to give it a couple of seconds, and voila, just like that, it's going to start giving you a ton of different project ideas. Physical science, biology, earth and environmental science, chemistry projects. It's going to give you a ton of different ideas so that you have somewhere to get started. But I'm realizing now, okay, this is kind of a lot of ideas and might not be the most appropriate for a second grader specifically. So one of the things that I definitely tell folks that the more specific and the more information, kind of the longer a prompt is, the better the output's going to be. So let's say instead, brainstorm some earth science school projects. Let's say your kiddo's like learning earth science right now, so that's why you want to focus on that. For my second grader. So now it's going to give an updated set of recommendations that's a little bit more appropriate and for, the right school age. And now this is going to give you something. Oh, okay, now this is something that's going to work for a second grader, something that you can do last minute and get done by that Friday deadline.
Oh, this is totally doable. I love this. It's definitely so much easier to have something as a thought starter and then use it as a jumping off point to like discuss what we can actually accomplish by Friday. So I love this. I love that you can also go back and you added the specifics about the appropriate grade level and the specific division of science that we're on. And really, I really want to emphasize here, all those details, putting those into that prompt, no matter how long that makes the prompt, really helps you improve the chances of getting what you want. So thank you so much for this, Alina. I got another one if you want. If
Hit me
you're
with
ready.
it. Yes, let's do it.
Okay. I have dramatic children. I have another child who might dramatically come home and be like, I have a quiz. Can you help me study for it? And I don't necessarily have time to sit there and read and then just come up with ways to help them study for it. I heard that there's a way that Copilot can help us with this as well, because otherwise I'm just reading a document from a teacher over and over again, or telling them to read the document over and over again.
Exactly. No, and I'm sure that gets harder and harder, like if you have more kids or they reach, middle school age and they have 6 or 7 classes. And so I know it can be really challenging as a parent to keep up and essentially be having to study the material yourselves so that, you can help out your kiddo with the studying that they need to do. So I'm actually going to go back to the homepage and I'm going to open up a new blank document. And I'm going to show you a scenario of how you could help your child prepare for a test. So I'll come up with an example. Let's say you have a middle schooler who was learning about the phases of the moon. At least that's roughly when I recall I was learning about it. But wouldn't it be great if you could create a quiz based on the actual assignment you were getting from your teacher? So if you're going to be doing this, you can actually get a copy. Like I know a lot of schools have, places where you can upload assignments, or you might be able to like copy and paste this. But I've actually put together ahead of time, an example of, let's say you get this document from your teacher, or they give you something that you can copy and paste and then put into Word, and it goes through all of the phases of the moon and all the things that they need to know, right? Well, going back to my blank document, we're actually going to be able to reference that other document to be able to get a quiz and to get something that is more valuable. So I'm teaching basically this broader concept of grounding. One of my favorite things about Copilot in Word is how you can feed it more information so that the output is the most useful to you. So we talked about having longer prompts. Well, in addition to having more precise and longer prompts, you can actually attach or ground the prompt in another document, another file, or another resource so that it's rooted in that information. And that doesn't mean that the model is training on any file that you attach. In fact, that is absolutely not the case. There's no model training that happens with any Copilot usage in Word. But it means that Copilot can read your attached file for a smarter and more contextual assistance. So let's try this right now.
Alina, could you zoom in a little bit when you're doing?
That's a great call out. Yes, please.
Thank you.
Let's make sure everyone can see this. So make a quiz for my middle schooler to study based on, you can watch me live typing over here, based on information in this study guide. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can click the little paper clip where it says reference your content, or you could press the / button. So I'll try pressing the / and boom, it opens up my OneDrive where I can now look for a variety of different files, and I can scroll and be like, okay, where did I save Miss W's Phases of the Moon study guide? Right here. Select that, attach. Boom, it's a part of the prompt now, and this is going to be a part of the input that Copilot takes in. So now we press generate. It's going to read through that guide. And now it's put together a quiz. So you have some multiple choice questions, giving you a variety of different options. There's some short answer questions. There's some true or false. And these are all things that you can go through, and it gives you an answer key so that you are able, definitely hide that one from your kiddo, but like have this as a separate page. And that way you're not having to relearn the material yourself, and you're able to then have an immediate guide for them to reference for the test that they have coming up.
Wow, and it grabbed this from the teacher material itself.
Exactly. And you can, create as many, your own files or upload things from the teacher as much as possible as reference, and that's going to make it even more precise. So yeah, it's pretty magical.
This is great. Thank you so much. I love these examples for school age kids. I feel like with different learning styles that kids have, there's just so many now more inclusive ways to help kids prepare than just reading the material over and over and just trying to straight memorize it. So I love this.
Absolutely.
So now that we've covered it for, let's say, like a grade schooler and a middle schooler, I've got a use case for my older teen.
Okay.
This is actually pretty universal, not just for teens. So I'm going to have you solve my problem.
Happy to help.
Okay, so I know Word has resume templates, cover letter templates, like all these things that make your content look beautiful. But if you have no content to put in that template, I have a teen who wants their first job, but she doesn't have any job experience. And, it's hard to get a job with no experience, but you need the experience to get the job. So she's done other things, like she's active in school. She plays clarinet in the school band. She does robotics club. She plays JV soccer. She does peer tutoring. And she babysits. She's babysat for about 3 years. But none of these things are like being a cashier at a store, let's say. And that's the type of job she's trying to get. So how on earth can she submit for a job with kind of really nothing? Not nothing, but nothing that fits the description of a formal job.
Employee experience. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I remember this is something we all struggle with, like, how am I supposed to get experience without experience? And so let's go back to the Word homepage. And what's cool is I'm going to show you can actually use one of our templates. So let's go over to letters. Let's say she needs to write a cover letter, and I can just click my favorite one, open this up. And now it's going to give me like a good structure for what this cover letter is going to look like. But I'm guessing, based on what you told me, that your daughter is not ready to be a data analyst director, correct?
Not quite yet.
Yeah, exactly. So you're telling me a variety of different things. So this is going to be, again, a great example of how you can really personalize a prompt to make sure that it is the most useful that it can be. So I'm going to kind of go right above this. I'm going to open up my little Copilot box. I'm going to say, write a cover letter. And what was your daughter's name?
Allison, 2 L's.
Allison, a high school student. Leverage her experience. Let's say babysitting for 3 years.
3 years.
Her experience playing in the school band, her participation in robotics club, JV soccer, and peer tutoring to showcase her great fit as a candidate. Showcase qualities an employer would be looking for. So again, lots of details, something that's going to be able to pull a bunch of different experiences from. I'm going to go ahead and generate. And this is something that I actually give a lot of advice on when, oh, it even gave like some address stuff. So you can go through and you can delete all of these because it's actually updated the whole thing based off of a dummy address. There we go. There you go. I've regularly babysat for families in my neighborhood. I remember the school band. I've learned the importance of working together, achieve a common goal, strengthen my problem-solving abilities, think creatively, etc. And again, you can go in and you can change the formatting, you can change the size, the fonts, all the things that you can normally do in Word. But now again, you have that starting place so that you're able, and I'll zoom in a little bit here, have a sense of, what are the different things that Copilot can help you at least get started and give you some ideas to get the juices flowing.
This is incredible. She'll be so impressed with how qualified she sounds from this. Great. Now I'd like to actually bring on Michaela George from our Excel team, who's going to share some magical things about Excel. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here.
We will also start this one with a very easy question. So where do we find Copilot in Excel? Can you walk us through that one?
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I already have a back to school workbook pulled up and ready to go. So in order to find Copilot in Excel, there's a bunch of different places where you can access Copilot contextually, which we'll cover later. But to start, the easiest way and the simplest way to access Copilot in Excel is going to be the ribbon. Here, you'll be able to find the Copilot icon. And when you click that Copilot icon, you're going to find the Copilot in Excel chat. Just going over the chat, it'll always start off with some places where you can get started, whether that be suggest a formula or using it to generate pivot tables or charts. Copilot in Excel, you're able to interact with it like how you would any other AI chatbot, asking it questions, and it's going to provide a response in the chat pane.
Oh, that's great. That's exactly what I need because I love Excel. I love the idea of being an Excel pro, but I am far from one. I use Excel, but with a lot of cutting, pasting, deleting, adding columns, but I don't really know how to do any of the auto magical stuff. I know there's a lot in there that I could do if I knew how to do it, but I heard that Copilot can actually help me with some of this stuff. So can you share an example of how we can use this during the school year with your amazing chat panel here?
Yeah, definitely. So Copilot in Excel has so many amazing uses. Of course, Copilot is going to be great at generating formulas or formatting or data analysis. But of course, there's a bunch of back to school scenarios that you'd be able to utilize Copilot in Excel for, whether that be making tables to help track your grades, track your homework assignments, or maybe you have a bunch of busy kids like Ellen with extracurriculars every single day and you want help organizing and creating a sync schedule. You can use Copilot in Excel for really any data management or tracking. So I'm going to start with a simple back to school scenario that also showcases how you can use Copilot for formulas. So let's say you have a teacher who maybe sent a back to school supply list and you're trying to track your purchases and data in Excel. Well, one example of how you can use Copilot in Excel is to highlight your data. And from here, you're able to see this little icon, which is going to open Copilot's dynamic suggestions. So let's say you want to suggest a formula column based off of this data, and maybe you don't know how to get started with formulas in Excel. So when you click this, Copilot in Excel is going to start calculating a formula column for you based off of your data specifically. So what's really great about this is that it's able to look directly into your workbook and figure out what's going to work best for your data. So it's able to not only look at the data that I'm highlighting, but also the entire table and really understand what's going to be most helpful for you in this moment. So here you'll see Copilot in Excel is going to suggest that we have a column for total cost. So you're able to see the logic that Copilot in Excel is using and what the formula would be if you were to type it yourself. It allows you to copy this if you want to insert it into the workbook manually. But what's even more easier is they have an insert column button here. So I'm going to go ahead and click this insert column. And here you're able to see what Copilot created for you be directly added to your workbook. So what it did was took the quantity of items needed and multiplied it by the price, and it created a total cost row for each school supply. This is a super simple, basic example, but that really just shows the power of Copilot in Excel and how it can help you get started with simple tasks. So, speaking of task, Ellen, I know you have a college senior. I'm curious if there's any college search scenarios that maybe Copilot in Excel could help you with.
Oh man, that's just the bane of my existence right now. She knows that she wants to study industrial design, but I know not all the schools have that. I also want to make sure we narrow it to schools that are within our price range. I want to be cognizant of maybe where the school is. There's so many things, but there's too many websites out there to. I would be the type would be crawling a bunch of websites and like compiling information or making her compile the information into one Excel sheet. So I need to figure out a way to do this faster and easier.
Yeah, so Copilot can definitely help out with that. So, one thing that a lot of people face when using Excel is feeling that it's a little bit intimidating and not knowing where to start or how to organize your data. So, one option you do have is starting outside of Excel in the Microsoft 365 Copilot app. So, I'm going to hop over to this app. I have the page pulled up, and you are able to ideate, brainstorm, go back and forth with Copilot. And Copilot is going to be able to create an Excel sheet for you that you can then open in Excel and switch from the Copilot app to Copilot in Excel. So I know, Ellen, you spoke a little bit about your daughter who's interested in industrial design. So I went ahead and created this prompt. So essentially, what I'm going to ask Copilot for is a list of colleges that are ranked highly in industrial design, asking about program highlights, different opportunities, maybe what the average starting salary is for graduates. And then I'm going to ask it to organize this in an Excel file so that way we can get started tracking your daughter's college journey. So what Copilot is going to do is a deep analysis and eventually give us an Excel sheet where we could start looking at that data.
This is great. And if you're wondering where Michaela is typing here, we're in the Microsoft 365 Copilot app, which you can either find on your desktop or could just go to Microsoft365.com and log in from there.
Yeah. So Copilot has
There you
gone
go.
ahead and generated that file. So here you're able to just click and download it to your computer. For the sake of this demo, I already have its output up and ready to go. So I'm going to pop over here to my workbook. And here I have a bunch of information that Copilot was able to gather on colleges, specifically ones with industrial design majors. Another great call out here, and I know Elena spoke about this a little bit earlier, is the more and more comprehensive you prompt your Copilot, the better and more thorough of a response it's going to give you. So be sure to ask questions, answer those questions, tell it exactly what information you want it to return. And it's also even helpful to tell Copilot how you want it to respond. Ask it to organize in tables, ask it to put things on different worksheets and things of that nature. So that way you get a really comprehensive response. So I know this is a bunch of information, but for the sake of this demo, we're going to focus specifically on this table.
Okay.
So we are super excited to be announcing that we now have a way for you to interact with Copilot how you would with any other Excel formula. So we have now a Copilot in Excel function. So For example, let's say you're looking over all of this information, you see schools, their GPA requirements, and everything you would need in order to be ready to apply. But maybe location is something that's really important to you in the college decision.
Mhm.
So, what you're able to do is I'll add a row for location, and then you can use the Copilot function to pull exactly that. So to access the Copilot function, you're going to do equals Copilot, and then you're going to you're going to enter your prompt. So with the Copilot function, you can speak to it in natural language. You don't have to use short term that's used to usually call functions. You can tell it exactly what you want it to do. So I'm going to ask Copilot to return the location of each school. Sorry. And then after that, I'm going to give it the list of schools that I want it to return the location for.
Huh.
And I'm going to run that. And here you're able to see that Copilot in Excel is able to return the city and state for every school.
That's amazing. I didn't even know where some of these schools were. And I can't believe that you could do that without needing to memorize a formula or having to go look it up separately. That's incredible. Um, so your formula that you put in was equals Copilot, and then you basically gave it a natural language request, and then you referenced the cells that had the information that they were going to be looking it up on, correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Michaela. We also want to remind everyone that this specific feature is available on desktop versions of Excel. So awesome. So glad to have you here, Michaela, with us.
Yeah, it was my pleasure to be here.
So I'm going to wrap this up here by saying thank you all for joining us today. Our next session is scheduled for October 22nd, and it's going to be focused on great features within the Copilot app, whether it's on mobile or on desktop. So stay tuned for that. You'll be able to register for that shortly using the same link that you used to register for this one. And if you did register through Microsoft Teams, you can also watch on demand our previous 2 sessions. So don't forget to check those out. So thank you all. Thank you, Michaela, and thank you, Elena. We hope everyone is inspired to make school days smarter with Copilot. See you next time.